Oh, man. Oh, man. What a train wreck. Well, that's been the current state of the left this week. The left is lefting, and we'll get into that in the lead topic here. Go ahead, take us to the lead topic. So the Donald Trump had his joint session in front of Congress, and we're going to play some of the video clips from it in a little bit here. But I'm going to be honest with you, man. It was a really good speech. And you guys, it's all over YouTube. You can go watch it for yourselves. Now, he had his little playful jabs. He's Donald Trump. He can't help but attack people. He can't help but bash the former president. But the speech itself was actually really well. It was really well written and really well read. With that said, on the flip side, I don't think the Democrats could have done much more to make themselves look terrible Tuesday night. It was one of the worst political gaffes I think I've ever seen. And the worst part, it wasn't just one gaffe. It was a series of gaffes. They continued to make asses out of themselves throughout the night. It's just over and over and over again. Now, here is this first video. This actually came out before the speech. Now go ahead, check this out here. This is several Democrat senators. We got 5 of them put side by side. There were actually 22 of them altogether that recorded this exact same video and posted it. But go ahead, check this out.
When I win, I will immediately bring prices down starting on day one.
That ain't true. That's what you just heard. Since day one, Donald Trump's presidency, prices are not down. They're up. Inflation is getting worse. Prices of groceries, gas, eggs, of essentials. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has done nothing to lower costs for you. Instead, he's part of violent police action. He's letting Elon Musk take a chainsaw, drive government programs, and then, even worse, giving him access to Americans' most sensitive data, Social Security.
Okay, that's enough. I feel like I'm schizophrenic right now. I mean, there were 22 of them recorded that same thing word for word. They just don't get it. Hey, you're out of touch. Hey, what's your number one critique of the Democrat Party? You ask anybody that, you'd say they're out of touch. They feel robotic, inauthentic. So what do? They all record the exact same video word for word on a script and have the same company edit it and push it out at the exact same time. 22 senators did that. They don't get it. Who writes this crap? Who comes up with these ideas? You're telling me this is the best you guys can do? I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm happy. Continue to act this way and watch what happens. Now, the Democrats had a phenomenal idea on top of a totally rehearsed robotic video that every single one of them recorded prior to the speech. This idea was, rather than draw attention to themselves, rather than do anything creative, they decided to sit there with signs. Go ahead, pull the picture of the signs up here. No, all the way at the bottom. All the way at the bottom. Yep. They decided to pull up a pic. They decided to sit there and hold up signs. Signs that said false, Musk steals, that's a lie. That's it. That was their big protest of Hitler. That's what they call him. He's Hitler. Did you know that's how we stopped the Germans in the 40s? Was we sat at one of Hitler's speeches and held up signs. And this is proof, number one, that they don't think he's Hitler, because if he was Hitler, you'd be doing far more to stop him than sitting there and holding up signs. Otherwise, you'd be arguably worse than Hitler. You know, that whole thing about the indifference of good men. This also shows what a bad spot that the Democratic Party is in here in early 2025. What a horrible position they're in. Just how pathetic, broken, and feckless they are. You have got this guy who, for whatever reason, is the single biggest driver of Democrat fundraisers, which is Donald Trump. Every time the guy runs for office, they set new fundraising records. That's a fact. Their base hates him. The only people Donald Trump motivates more than his own base is the Democratic Party's base. They should have all the momentum in the world. They should be fighting mad, have all the incentive to just come out swinging against this guy. But all they have the energy to do is pout in the corner and hold up signs. This man has broken them. There's no way around that. Now, I think we can all say, because I give Trump his credit where it's due, and I also have no problem criticizing both him and his messaging tactics when I don't feel he did a good job. So I personally feel, and you guys probably agree because you're still listening to the show on episode 203 or whatever this is, but I personally feel that I'm a pretty impartial source when it comes to Donald Trump and how I feel his speeches and debates go. Remember, I was really critical of him after the Kamala Harris debate. I thought he did a great job. But I wasn't the only one who thought that. In fact, CNN's instant poll after, mind you, these are CNN viewers. These are probably not a lot of conservatives tuning into CNN. Some independents and liberals tuning into Hate Watch. 69% of the people that watched this speech on CNN viewed it as positive. 69%. And that's not an outlier. CBS, which has arguably got an even more liberal viewership than CNN, found that 76% of its viewers approved. Now, when you get deeper into the numbers, we got some more here to go over. 77% of CBS viewers supported his plan to cut government waste and spending. 77% back immigration and border policies. 76% approve of Trump's speech. 76% approve of him removing a congressman who interrupted his speech. It wasn't him. It was Speaker Johnson. We'll play that video in a second. 74% say his speech was presidential. 73% support his stance on Russia and Ukraine. 68% said it made them feel hopeful and proud. 68% said he has a clear plan to tackle inflation. 68% said he accurately described America's crime crisis. 63% say he focused on issues they care about. Now, this is not CPAC. This isn't Fox News. This isn't InfoWars. This isn't That's Based with Caleb Salvatore, where you might have a slightly more biased audience. This is CBS, one of the most liberal news stations in the country. If conservatives are going to tune in at all, let me tell you, they're going to tune in to watch it on YouTube or Fox. They're not going to go to CBS to watch it. They're not going to go to CNN to watch it. So you've, at best, if you're CBS and the Democrat Party, got a bunch of independents tuning in, and at worst, it's split between independents and moderates, independents and Democrats that are tuning in, and he's pulling these types of numbers. The Democrats, between their feckless attempt at a protest, one of the most pathetic attempts at protest I've ever seen, and these poll numbers, the Democrats have a real problem. Make no mistake, and there's plenty of time between now and the 2026 midterms, but if they don't get their shit together, they're in a whole heap of trouble. I mean, a whole heap of trouble. And that's not just for the midterms, that's going forward. We're going to talk about some of their more inspiring candidates coming up on Trending This Week here in a bit. But this is, if I'm the chair of the DNC, right? Or the vice chair, if I'm that little twink David Hogg, I'm sitting here panicking, looking at these numbers. Oh my God, what do we do? What do we do? Now, here's a video of Al Green. He is a representative from the state of Texas. He tried to cause a scene during Trump's speech, and, well, this is what happened. Go ahead.
Mr. Green, take your seat. Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order. Remove this gentleman from the chamber.
Okay, that's enough. I thought they got Saddam Hussein. What the hell? You know, Mia, you said it last night. Do you remember what you said to me while we were watching this? You don't remember what you said? You said when they have these outbursts like that, do they not understand he feeds on this kind of stuff? You're not going to distract him. You're not making any type of statement. The guy's a former reality TV star, #1 show in the country for a long time. You're not going to beat him that way. He's going to dunk on you. This energy, this is like shooting adrenaline into his veins. when you cause scenes like that. And again, I don't think I've ever seen something more symbolic of the current state of the Democrat Party than an old man with a cane rambling incoherently while he's drowned out by all the noise around him. That might actually be the single most symbolic display by the Democrat Party in 2025. Seriously, an old man waving a cane around, rambling incoherently while everyone else around him drowns him out so you can't understand a word he's saying. That's the Democrat Party. That's them. They're just missing a bottle of booze and you're already there. Now, Trump did a lot of what I said is called, or what we referred to on the show that Scott Jennings coined, called the 80-20 rule, where you take an issue that 80% of people agree with and you make the other side defend the 20%. Well, I think he went a little bit further than that. He took this thing called I would say the 99-1 rule is what we're going to call it, and made the Democrats defend the 1%. If there's even, it might be a bit of a stretch to say that 1% of the people in this country don't have souls, but the ones that do are all elected Democrats in Congress. So he had 3 instances that really stuck out. So part of the Democrats' plan was to not stand and applaud for anything he said or did, no matter how much they agreed with it, with one exception, which was the mentioning of sending money and weapons to Ukraine. Of course, they can clap for Ukraine, but they couldn't clap for things like a 95-year-old mother who got her son back from Russia. Didn't clap for her. I thought Russia was bad. Wouldn't you be excited that someone could get their son out of that horrible country? They love Brittany Griner, though. I'm just saying. They wouldn't clap for this kid right here, DJ Daniels, who was diagnosed with brain cancer, given 5 months to live, and wound up living like he's still alive 5 or 6 years later. He got bullied by a bunch of kids from his school because he wanted to be a police officer, and Trump honored him at the joint session. Go ahead, check this video out. They did not a single Democrat stood up and applauded this kid. A couple of them sat there and quietly clapped. Not a single one stood up and applauded for this kid. It's such a despicable, partisan, shameful act. You do show, every president does things like this at joint sessions. It's to unify people. You take issues that, hey, let's all at least come together on this. And is it a little bit of political theatrics and grandstanding? Yes, of course it is. But it's supposed to be like layups, right? That's what we call them. In comedy, we've got jokes that are layups. We know we're going to get laughs. They may not be the biggest laughs, but they're things we can fall back on. That's what this is supposed to be. But the Democrats wouldn't even give him this concession, and this is despicable. Go ahead.
Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer. Actually, a number of times. The police love him. The police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service. Thank you.
Mia, why are you chopping onions in here? Stop. Not a single one of them applauded this kid, though. Not a single one of them stood up to applaud for this kid. How gross is that? Can we put this partisanship and dehumanization of the other side? I have no idea how this kid's parents voted. It doesn't matter. So I'm not even going to talk about dehumanization of the other side. But can we put this... But that's what it is. I don't know what else to call it. This dehumanization of the other side aside, I mean, this is something that should unite everybody. I mean, you have to be the biggest piece of shit on the planet to have a problem with a kid with cancer, to not be able to set your partisan differences aside for like 3 seconds to stand up and clap for this kid. I mean, truly, could you imagine being that kid's dad and having to explain why half of the room didn't cheer for you? He doesn't understand. That's batshit. It's so pathetic and just shows the state of this country. Now, here's Representative Debbie Dingell. Go ahead and check this video out. She's the woman on the right here with the eye roll. Go ahead. Rolls her eyes and plugs her ear. Debbie Dingell. More like Debbie Dingus. I went to high school with a girl with the last name Dingus. What a horrible... Could you imagine having that last name? But by the way, she only got that seat because her husband passed away. It's in a dark blue district and she ran for it. Do people not understand? You're on television. Everything is on camera. They caught you rolling your eyes. That is a horrible moment. I mean, here's the thing with this DJ Daniels situation here is if you were the Democrats, I mean, how bad did you fuck yourselves on this? Because, and this is the problem, they get their marching orders from the people in charge that pull the strings, and they know they better damn well not break from the fray, not go away from the orders in any way, shape, or form. Otherwise, they're in big trouble with the boss, whoever that may be. And they're so void of independent thought. They're so soulless. They've been so void of a soul for so long that they won't even do it for something like that. They won't even see even if you were given those orders by people above you that, hey, we don't legitimize anything he says by standing up and applauding it, even if we agree with it. You've got to understand on a human level, that's the one exception that's probably not going to get you in trouble. But they have whipped these people into line so harshly that they can't even break the mold on it. It's honestly kind of impressive the way they've brainwashed not just their followers, but their followers' elected representatives. I think the followers are the ones who are brainwashed. The elected representatives are the ones who are terrified because they'll end their careers with, a primary or maybe some dirt they have on them that's much worse. But here's the thing. The fact that they couldn't set politics aside and make an exception for that kid has fucked them so royally. Because here's what would have happened. If you would have stood up and applauded that kid and stood up and applauded this next video I'm going to show you in a minute here, you could, after the speech was over, your side could have done your rebuttal. You could have had, the press that you guys own 90% of do the quote unquote fact checking and throw spins on everything he says and half truths and whatnot, like you always do. You could have done your counterpoints. You could have brought up his insults and how he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas and blah, 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 blah. But instead, and they are doing those things. But the problem is those things are all falling on deaf ears. Those things are all being drowned out, and rightfully so, by what they, I guess I can't say did, but more so didn't do for this kid with cancer. That's all anyone's talking about right now, is how you guys snubbed the cancer kid. All of your rebuttals to what he's saying, maybe you had some legitimate criticisms of what he said. Maybe he did take a couple liberties with the truth. Doesn't matter, though, because nobody's going to hear that, because all anyone wants to talk about is the way you guys treated the kid with cancer like shit. So you've done this to yourself. Your lack of humanity continues to cost you on the national scale. It really was. And the thing is, this is, like I said,
you're a horrible, despicable person.
They really are. This is a unity move. Every president does something like this. This was not a political move by Trump. He wasn't expecting them to not stand up and applaud this kid. In fact, he probably thought this is the one thing we're all going to agree on. But they basically just gave him a Christmas gift in March by doing this. Now, this is the other one they didn't clap for. Go ahead and play this video here. This is another parent of a murdered child that Trump honored. Go ahead, check this out.
Joe Biden didn't just open our borders. He flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungari from Houston. Wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are two illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight, I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order?
Oh, you got 2 or 3 Democrats stand up for that one. Okay. Those are the ones in swing districts. Did 3 Democrats stand up for that one? Way to go, guys. Okay, that's enough. 3 Democrats. So they have officially solidified themselves as the We Hate Children Party over the last week. Sick kids, dead kids, unborn kids, kids who are maybe confused about their gender because their grooming teachers have told them a bunch of nonsense. Doesn't matter. We'll take them all. We'll mutilate them all. We'll kill them all. We hate them all. We hate kids. We're the We Hate Kids Party here at the DNC now in 2025. We have solidified that reputation. Any doubts about our reputation have been quelled. You know, the worst part is this bitch reporter, Michelle Wallace, after that kid got appointed, an honorary Secret Service member. By the way, I still think he would have done better than that woman did at the Butler shooting that was like standing there hiding behind the person she was supposed to be protecting at the assassination attempt. Michelle Wallace, this bitch reporter, goes on air, has the nerve, and says, childhood cancer is horrible, and we wish the best for DJ and his family, blah, blah, blah. And then goes on to say, I hope that when you're a Secret Service agent, that you never have to deal with Trump supporters attacking the Capitol while you're on your shift and you have to commit suicide a couple days later, like what happened to the brave The people have no soul. This last week is proof of it. If you take nothing else from this episode, it's that the Democrat Party is completely devoid of a soul. I mean, these are soulless, mindless robots that know nothing other than to fall in line with their marching orders and repeat recycled talking points. That's it. That's all they have. That's all they've got. Their original thought was hilarious because the left loves to boast themselves as the side of creativity and artistry and all that. But original thought is totally banned. Totally banned. They're all for diversity, but not diversity of thought. They don't want anyone who thinks any differently than them, anyone who's willing to break away from the fray. Now, I guarantee you the 3 people you saw stand up in that video with the wildlife refuge, I guarantee you that those 3 people are in swing districts and they probably got special permission to stand up for something like that beforehand. The rest of them, if you're in a dark blue district, who gives a shit? You maintain that order. Don't you dare break away from the fray. Don't you dare do it. It's so disturbing that they can't put politics aside. And it really, I mean, I had a personal experience today. I'm not going to out this person or use their name or anything like that. But I got a text message from somebody I know who's on the left that I haven't talked to recently, probably because my political views are very well known. But I got a text message. It says, we have a Trump. Like I said, I'm not going to use this person's name. They're not a public figure or anything. It's a privacy thing. But this is just an example that this isn't just at the top. The whole left is rotted to its core. It really is. It says, we have a Trump supporter in the office, and she just said, I'm wearing red for a reason today. Is something going on? I don't want to ask what she's talking about because I think that would count as discussing politics, and I don't want to get sent to HR for this. Well, turns out I actually know what that means. That's for like women's heart disease awareness. My cousin was born with a hole in her heart, and her family wears shirts that say that all the time. So I actually know what that means. But folks on the left have been so brainwashed, and they've forgotten that people who may vote differently than you, even if they're loud and proud about how they voted, they have other things going on in their lives. And you guys have dehumanized them to the point that you think literally everything they do is political because you only see them as a political entity. And that's a big problem. That leads to people not standing up when a kid with cancer gets an honorary nomination or an honorary membership to the Secret Service. That type of dehumanizing of the other side, has led to civil wars and human rights violations throughout history. In fact, it's leading to them right now. Look no further than what's going on over in Burma, Myanmar, whatever you want to call it. It's the same thing. It's a more extreme version of what we have here, but you've got 2 sides of the coin that have dehumanized each other for so long that they're committing atrocious human rights violations against each other because of it. And that goes on all over the world. That's not just, Israel, Palestine. What's going on both sides over there? It's nonstop. Just take a break, from the partisan hackery for 2 seconds to step back and go, hey, we disagree, and I don't even have to like you because we disagree on something, but I do recognize that you're a person, that you're a human. I mean, it's crazy how quickly we've gone downhill since November 5th. I was talking about on the post-election show, we did that whole video of the liberal meltdowns and talking about people cutting off their friends and family. And I'm saying, hey, don't cut your friends and family off. You voted differently. They're still your friend. They're still your family. They're still the same person you knew. Now I'm at the point where I'm saying, hey, you don't even have to talk to these people. If you don't like how they voted, fine. If you want to cut them off, that's your prerogative. But at least acknowledge that they're a human. At least acknowledge they're a human being that has their own struggles, their own demons, their own wins and losses, ups and downs, whatever you want to call it. And they're not just some mindless, or they're not just some political machine that only operates that way. That the only things going on in their lives are politics. It really goes to show how dangerous it is when you're unable to operate on anything other than politics. When you can't even stand up and applaud a wildlife refuge being named after a dead little girl, or a kid with cancer getting an honorary Secret Service designation. I mean, it's just so gross, guys. So gross. Be better than that. I know you can. I know you can be. It's going to take you a little bit. But the way the mainstream media has hijacked you and taken your souls from you should be deeply disturbing, because it is disturbing to me. I mean, it concerns me, because it's like I said, 5 months ago, we were saying, hey, still be friends with people that voted differently. Now we're saying, hey, just acknowledge that they're human beings and be able to rally around things that other human beings, regardless of how they voted or their religious views or whatever the case may be, should be able to agree on. Mia, would you wager before or after the end of the year we're saying, hey, could you at least just not kill people because they voted differently than you? What do you think? Before, over under December 31st, 25, am I on here begging people to stop killing each other because they voted differently? Over? So you think 2026 is when the gunfire is going to start? Mm-hmm. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page on that. But I mean, that's the thing is you have to see these people like not everything they do is motivated to hurt you or destroy you or own the libs or own the conservatives or however it is they voted. Like there's everyone has things going on in their lives. And most people, like I said, even if they're loud and proud about politics, don't center every single one of their actions and every one of their statements around politics. But they're so used to being force-fed, spoon-fed this by the mainstream media that they forget there's a human being on the other side. Now, here's the last thing I'll leave you, because there were retorts and everything about Trump, and I'm seeing a lot of talk about the economy. Here's the last thing I'll leave you with. I personally don't feel like the economy is any better or worse than it was before Donald Trump took office. I think the things that have happened, he's only been in office for a month and a half. I think the things that have happened already were going to happen regardless of who the president was, and I think it's going to take at least a year before we see any real change here. So buckle up, it's going to be a little bumpy. With that said, what I want you guys to keep in mind going into the next 3.5 years is that the same mainstream media that told you for the last 4 years that the Biden economy was humming and that there were actually no problems with the economy, it was going great, and in fact, you were the problem. You were ungrateful, you were too materialistic, you were too greedy, you were the problem. The same media that told you that is going to spend the next 4 years telling you that the Trump economy is a disaster and it's in the toilet. What I want you to do is I want you to listen to your bank account the same way you did the last 4 years over the next 4 years, because you're going to see constant attacks and every bad thing that in there. It's the stock market, it's inflation, stuff's going to ebb and flow. So you're going to see the constant attacks over the next 4 years. I want you to tune them out the same way you tuned out the Biden administration's gaslighting on how quote unquote great the economy was for the last 4 years. And I want you to listen to your wallets and your bank accounts. Do you have more money left at the end of every paycheck or less than when he took office? Those are the things I want you to pay attention to over the next couple of years. Not what CNN's saying, not what Democrat politicians and podcasters and Twitter accounts are saying, not what the garbage Drudge Report's reporting. I want you to take an honest look at your bank account and say, do I have more or less money? And tune out the rest of the noise, because these people have lied to you once, they will lie to you again. They also lied to you about how well Kamala Harris's campaign was going. They tried to gaslight you into giving up and not even bothering to vote by astroturfing a campaign for her. They lied about crime statistics for 4 years until at the very end it came out, oh yeah, we fabricated those too. We weren't reporting all the cities. They have no problem lying about the state of things to make them look better than they actually are. Make no mistake, they're not going to have any problem lying about the state of things to make them look worse than they actually are. And we've already seen that they have an incentive to do that. So take everything you hear about the economy over the next couple of years with a large grain of salt. Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, be sure to click the link in the description to get the full episode on Rumble. If you prefer to listen along, you could actually get us on Spotify, Spreaker, and iHeartRadio. You can also go to www.outlawstreamers.com to learn more about not just my show, but tons of other great shows and all the exciting projects they have coming up. Follow my socials at Caleb Isn't Funny on Twitter and Instagram, at Caleb Salvatore Comedy on the Chinese spy app that is TikTok, and be sure to like and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thanks, and we'll see you every Saturday for brand new episodes of That's Based. Peace.